11th of February 1961 was the year that Cameroon became united in its diversity. The United Federal Republic of Cameroon had lots of challenges during the early phase of independence and reunification. One would have thought that these challenges within 50 years would have been resolved till now. That is why the nation needed time to prepare effectively in setting up institutions that will help serve the Cameroonian people. It's been almost 50 years after reunification of Cameroon. The nation is yet to boast of a law school that will train her own students in becoming lawyers in the country and interpreting the law and the constitution. There are so many speed breaks in Cameroon for young and aspiring Cameroonians to become lawyers in the country. So many will have to use the shortest route, which is to travel out of the country in order to become lawyers by going through a law school. Some would prefer to use the Gambia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, just to name but these few. To those who cannot afford the luxury of traveling out of Cameroon to become lawyers, they will have to practice at a bar at the chambers for close to 3 years, pending that a bar exam is launched by the Bar Council. And after the exam is launched, if they are not able to pass, because it is a rigorous process in which many are called, few are chosen. And we all know how few are chosen in Cameroon. Sometimes it is at the level of merit, and oftentimes at the level of who do you know and who knows you. However the case is, we've witnessed how the aspiration of young Cameroonians studying in the University of Boya, in the School of Law, studying in the University of Soa, and studying in other universities across Cameroon are being shattered, how their dreams are being shattered as they graduate from the university. With those who cannot even afford to wait for the length of time to apply for a bar exam or to travel out of the country, they end up taking a different career after graduation with BA in law. 3 years after Cameroonians constantly ask themselves, what will it take for them to become lawyers in the country? It is 50 years after reunification. We've had 2 transitions in the Bar Council. Many are asking, who is putting the speed brakes for Cameroon to have a law school? Is it the level of bar, who are afraid that if the law school comes, the bar will lose its authority and will not become that effective in terms of putting issues of law? Or is it at the level of the Ministry of Justice, who are putting speed brakes to ensure that a law school should not come into Cameroon, that we will have a lot of lawyers? Or is it at the level of the Ministry of Higher Education that is putting the speed brakes? Is it that Cameroonians are not competent enough to man a law school if it is created in Cameroon? What of the case of Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and Nigeria, Ghana? Are these countries bigger and well developed than Cameroon? Cameroon is the giant of CEMAC, and by default, Cameroon should set the example. It takes 10 million plus for someone to travel out of Cameroon to become a lawyer for an ordinary family. Well, how long will this take for Cameroonians to study and become lawyers in the country that they call their own? This is House of Commons with me, TAH MAI JAVIS.
Since 1993, EUG is 3 schools: ESG, ISTA, ISA, 3 ultra-modern campuses with more than 40 specialties in BTS, HND, DCEP, professional bachelors and professional masters. More than 15,000 graduates and more than 115 million francs scholarships granted to students. Many national and international partnerships, and more is still to come. At EUG,
we train leaders since 1993.
Thanks for joining us. This is House of Commons with me, TAH MAI JAVIS. We kickstart today's program. Happy Sunday to all those of you watching us from different parts of the world, especially those watching in the Northwest and in the Southwest region. Those watching us in Nigeria, those watching on Facebook, we want to say happy Sunday to you. We want to also say happy Sunday to those of you watching us in the United States of America. I begin by introducing to you my guest with whom we are going to have a 1 hour 30-minute ride on today's edition of our program, 50 years after reunification, what stops Cameroon from having a law school? To begin with, Barrister Tamfu Richard is a member of the, he's a lawyer, he's a lawyer and a member of the bar, and also joining us here to discuss the issue. Barrister Tamfu, you're welcome.
Thank you, Jarvis. I would like to put this precision. I am a member of the Cameroon Bar and Nigerian Bar Association. So when you put it like that, it honors me. So good evening, good afternoon to the panelists, and good afternoon to all the Cameroonians who are watching. It's always a pleasure to be here and to edify, especially on the subject that has just been briefly raised by our host.
Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel is also somebody that has been practicing law and understand the intricacy of what is happening at the level of the Bar Council and also at other law schools out of Cameroon. He's been working with lawyers in and out of Cameroon and has a wealth of experience when it comes to the issue of law and also when it comes to the issue of the practice in itself and why Cameroon it is the way it is based on the legal system. Senior Barrister Ashu is also he's also the president and founder of the Reform People's Party, and he joins us here on Sunday. Senior Barrister Ashu, it's a privilege to have you.
Thank you, TAH MAI JAVIS. I'm the national president of Reform Party. I'm not founder, I'm national president.
National president.
The party had 1,000 founding members, so please don't put them on my back. Now, thank you, Mr. TAH MAI JAVIS. You see, at law, our diplomas are different from those of those other diplomas from universities. So we won't talk of a BA at law. You talk of an LLB. LLB for the first degree, LLM for the second one, LLD for the last one. So it is Latin Legium Baccalaureus, an LLB. So the other thing is that you mentioned the Federal United Republic of Cameroon, which in fact has never existed. That is what our forefathers would have wanted, but it never existed. What we had here was the Federal Republic. Simplicity.
Here also we have a Fire Elvis Tayon, who is also a political analyst. Fire Elvis Tayon has been moving around Cameroon in and out to look at the structures that we have as far as the legal system is concerned. Not a lawyer, but someone who constantly fights for the respect of the Constitution, the respect of the law. I believe that no one should be above the law and no one should be below the law. The law is a law, and the law should and ought to be respected. Fire Elvis, welcome.
Thanks very much. I'll have a special attachment probably to those who are practicing law, and especially when I realize that there is discrepancies and poor treatment between the three categories of persons who make up the law profession. We talk about those that mount the judicial aspect, like the justice and magistrate. We have equally the lawyers who equally constitute that, and we have what we call the registrars of the court. They too have another voice to say. We talk about, in that case, you realize that there is a law that was signed, a presidential decree that regulates and also gives their own position in terms of remunerations, which at a point in time there is a serious cry, there's foul cry at the level of the level of the registrars of the courts, who think that the magistrates or the justice have usurped all their own benefits and are making hell to reign on them in the executions of their functions. Of course, that is what we have been seeing on the ground in the course of carrying out investigations and how these three categories of persons are faring. It is a worry and a concern that one part of the legal system usurps almost everything, which keeps the other at a tight corner as they keep complaining. We'll bring you an in-depth of the investigation that goes on. And of course, there's a law to that effect that was signed by President Paul Biya, allocating some allowances which have not been given. And we have cases whereby the magistrates who man these areas, like the State Council and the officials, have completely sidelined the registrars of the legal system, which is a call for concern. I will come back to that. But then, TAH MAI JAVIS, coming in still from Kumba, we've been carrying out investigations. Some aspects are on the ground. Do you know that some deals are on salaries based on the illegal sale of fuel? He will be giving you more details on that. And then another aspect which we stumbled over was the enthronement of Prince Mukete.
Yes, I was just about to briefly ask you that after the introduction. I'll come to that so that briefly, you have been moving around. So to get an update as to what is happening across the country. Before diving straight into the topic, we are joined via Skype by Mr. Ngalim. Mr. Ngalim, who is joining us via Skype. Mr. Ngalim, good afternoon and happy Sunday. I can't get you. Can you get me? But I can't get you. Similarly, maybe you have muted yourself. Check the sound. I cannot get you. Maybe our technical team is maybe I don't know if you can get me. Right on. If you can get me, it's okay. Happy Sunday. We'll be coming back to you, Mr. Ngalim, while we prepare the technicalities here. Briefly, Fire Evis, there was a kind of, rambling in Kumba over the weekend where we have seen the emergence of another Fon or another chief in Kumba claiming authority over the family of Fon, the predecessor of Fon V.E. Mukete.
Yes, it's a complex issue. I decided to go right down on the field to find exactly what is happening. And though the investigation is still going on, because we need to get the other side of the story from the palace where we have Fon Mukete, who is equally there on the seat now. Now, what we got on the ground was that the enthronement took place on Saturday, and out there around the Asong Garage neighborhood, the enthronement brought in place the traditional juju itself from the Bafoland that had to display, and we got that at the same time it has to do with commemorating the death of the former Fon of Kumba, that is the one who Fon V.E. Mukete took over from. And so the allegations are on that from those who support Prince Emmanuel Mukete. Of course, they say that at the time his father was Fon, he died when he himself was less than 3 years old, and so at that time Fon V.E. Mukete took over as caretaker. That was what we get on the ground. And so from the report that he took over as caretaker, so the scenario we got is that according to the Bafo tradition, he was supposed to Fon V.E. Mukete was acting as a caretaker, and knowing fully what according to the Bafo tradition, he has to rule until if he's passing out to the ancestors, then the throne had to come back to Mukete Emmanuel, which the points they put on the ground says that they were sidelined, and when that aspect was getting closer, the reports we get on the ground still on their parts of the people of
which is for now one-sided,
which is still one-sided, because I have to get to the other side of the story, tells me that they were sidelined, and then they say there's no tradition, there's no it's abnormal in the Bafo tradition that you designate another Fon while you are still alive. That is always done when you must have passed over. So it becomes complex in that case. I spoke with a handful of stakeholders on the ground, which I don't want to reveal for now, and we'll be getting the other side of the story from those in the palace. And so the aspect of neglect of one family members, like that of Prince Mukete Emmanuel, from benefiting from the royal throne, which he says rightfully belongs to him, has been ongoing. So, so it's complex, but we'll come back to that in the course of the week when I must have finished with the investigations. Very complex.
Senior Barrister, you talked about something like this,
yes,
thing on the similar platform.
Thank you, Mr. TAH MAI JAVIS. You see, when Fon V.E. Mukete passed on, I raised that issue here because what he is saying now, I had that information, and I raised that issue here because Fon V.E. Mukete as caretaker ought to have relinquished the throne to this young man when he became when he came of age. But because he was a strong man, he refused to do so, and this young man had no power, had nothing to do about it. So he had to wait patiently for this man to end his reign and go. But the late Fon, knowing that after him that issue will erupt, enthroned his son Fon before he died. You see, in the thinking that by so doing, after him nobody will be able to raise a finger. But you see, the Bafo people, like he is rightly saying, the Bafo people have stood up to say no. It is the people See, it is the people who choose their phone and not a phone who choose another phone.
Okay.
So the administration will have to look into that issue.
Because that was what happened in Kumba over the weekend, that the other side enthroned himself, they enthroned the phone.
And the issue is still complex.
The people enthroned their phone.
Okay.
But the other phone was enthroned by his father.
Well, that would be a topic for another day. And yeah, so basically that was what happened over the weekend. Let's dive straight into the table. Barrister Tamfu, you study law out of Cameroon, and we are looking at 50 years after independence. What's your take on the topic itself, that till now we don't have a law school, and how tedious it is and it was for you to have this law out of Cameroon?
No, I didn't study law out of Cameroon. I studied law in Cameroon. Started at the University of Chang, because in almost all the universities there is a department of law. So you now study the law, and maybe at the level of the degree, when you graduate, maybe with a bachelor degree, you now decide on which legal career you want to excel. Maybe you want to be a lawyer, maybe you want to be a magistrate, or you want to be a court registrar, or you want to be a bailiff, or you want to be a notary public. So my own objectives was to become a lawyer. So with the Cameroonian context, you see, there is a law organizing practice at the bar, and according to that law, it is stated that the exam has to be organized every 2 years. So if after a graduating batch, there should be 2 years to organize the election. But another thing also to tell you is that it is not the bar council that organize. The Cameroon, I can say the law organizing practice at the bar has what they call a superior authority, yes, that oversees the activities of the bar. So it is that superior authority, which is the Ministry of Justice, that is charged with organizing the election. But the bar has a role to play, because the bar could be pushing the supervisory authority to respect the law. So that is what the bar is supposed to do. So we have been observing for the past years that the bar at times plays the role with the supervisory authority, because you have to wait like for 7 years, 5 years, so many years before the exam is finally organized. So do I specifically talk with respect to my own case, because the last exam that was organized in 2008, they had 2 years to undergo pupillage. That's by 2020. They were supposed to, no, 2008, that is 2010. The pupillage period was supposed to be over. And after, they still have another 2 years to undergo the final stage. That's the part 2. You can call it part 2 of the bar. So
that's a total of 4 years.
That's a total of 4 years. So you do pupillage 2 years, and then the part 2 years. So you, after that period, they were supposed to have graduated in 2012 if that calendar was respected. But the calendar was not respected, and another exam was not launched after 2012. So for that reason, me that was already in chamber since 2009, I could not see myself waiting. I had to look for other avenues. That is how I enrolled myself in the Nigerian Law School in 2013, whereby there it's well organized. There is a Council of Legal Education. It's a reflection of a common law system where lawyers are trained, different from here, because there's a whole body, there's a whole school, like a school of lawyers. Whereas in Cameroon, there's a difference, because after your law studies at the university, you have to attach yourself to a law firm, and that's where you maybe through the master's training, you are trained by your master, and then you are now fit to sit for the exam. And it is the master that will be able to give you a recommendation letter for you to sit for the pupillage exam. So you go to the law. That's how I went to law school, trained, had 18 months training, where you have sessions of internship, and there you are actually trained as a lawyer. You are given all I can call it the legal magics, and then you are now called to bar. And what you should also know is that it's very, very expensive. It's not affordable to any, especially in the Cameroonian, because an average student in the Nigerian law school should spend at least 15 million francs, because just the fee itself is 5 million francs. So if you now have to put your feeding,
18 months,
lodging, and all the like, you see that if you live averagely, you should be spending at least 15 million francs. So that's how, when you are called to the Nigerian bar, you can now come back home
and practice.
No, you don't practice. You have to be enrolled. You have to be recognized. And you have to, yeah, because that's a foreign certificate. That's foreign. So you have to come back here and you have to.
The senior barrister Ashu last time said it's still the same system, that we have not changed from the authority of.
No, but that's the position. So you cannot just come back because you study in Nigeria, you come back and you start practicing. No, you still have to be enthroned here. You have to be called to bar. You take an oath according to the law. And after that oath taking ceremony, you are now free to practice as a full advocate. Now you don't pass again through the pupillage stage of 2 years before the bar to know you're already a full advocate.
Senior Barrister Ashu, what does it take to become a lawyer within Cameroon itself? How many years?
Mr. TAH MAI JAVIS, I thought you would have started from there.
Yeah, that's why I'm starting now from you, because I want to get this.
You ought to have started from there. Now, I think it's nice to have some form of introduction, because in 1961, we had a West Cameroon bar, but many people don't know this. There was a West Cameroon bar, and the Francophones had no bar. So we had a battery of lawyers who were practicing. We had Nigerian lawyers who were also practicing here. We had Nigerian judges who were officiating here. Around 1965, Francophones became interested in the activities of the West Cameroon Bar, and they joined forces, such that in 1972, they came up with the state was interested in the bar, and came up with the first law that organized the Cameroon Bar Association. You see, it suffices to state that the Cameroon Bar Association is called association, but in actual fact, it's a corporation, because this is something created by the law. It is not an association under the law of non-association, or like the other associations, professional association. No, this one is a corporation. You see, it belongs to the state, but it is the lawyers that are practicing inside. So, under the 1972 law, to become a lawyer, you had to be authorized, first of all, to undergo pupillage by a presidential decree. And then, when your pupillage is over, another presidential decree will authorize you to practice as counsel. We went through that. I went through that. And at a certain point, we started questioning the raison d'etre of this state of affairs, and the government told us that it was because there were few lawyers, so it was necessary for the Ministry of Justice to have some degree of control. At the time, in fact, the Procureur General was empowered to effect controls in chambers. A lawyer could not leave Cameroon to travel out without leave from the Procureur General. You see, the bar was actually under the grip of the Ministry of Justice. So in a meeting that we held at the conference room of Produce Marketing Board in Bonanjo, we decided to come up with a draft law, inside which we decided to take back most of the powers that were being exercised by the Minister of Justice. That's how we came about this new law, this law that is being applied today. So we said, lawyers have come of age. We are very many of us. We are competent. We can manage our own affairs. We don't need magistrate to run our affairs for us. So that's how we have this. We came up with this system where the lawyers now control entry to the bar and exit, and entry into pupillage and the bar final. So instead of the President of the Republic authorizing you to do pupillage, you now have a system whereby the Ministry of Justice organizes a bar entrance exam. That's what it's called. It's a bar entrance exam. The candidates who come in, who are successful, will do 2 years. You have 2 official years to study. The law says that the training of lawyers lawyers is in the hands of the Bar Council. So after the 2 years, the Bar Council will now call on the minister to organize the bar final. And when that is done, they can now send in the new wave of lawyers. Now let's go to the other side where you have our people going to law school. You see, those who have their means will want to go out to Rwanda, to Burundi, to Ghana, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, go and do your 2 years there and come back. The advantage is that they have 2 straight years because the law school doesn't waste time. But here, those who prefer to pass through the pupillage and then the bar entrance and the bar final, they have to suffer because the organization of these exams is not regular. In fact, at one time there was a gap of about 6 years between. There was a batch that spent 6 years. They came in as people advocates. They spent 6 years. And we said, how? Mr. Minister, organize this exam. He will not. So, in fact, we are working on another, a new law that will give the bar total control. You see, one of the problems you are raising here, why is there not a law school?
Yes.
Why? If you ask me, I will tell you that you put the two, I will prefer our own system. Because those who go to law school, without insulting any person, those who go to training at law school is not as good as training at the bar. It's not as good because the bar is a professional corps. You cannot carry professionals and train them like students. You see?
They go through the rigorous process of internship practice.
Well, let me tell you, you cannot train professionals as students. When you say they go through internship, my learned colleague here, he has gone through it. He knows what I'm talking about. He has a chambers now. When you take those children from law school, put them in chambers, you see, I mean, the gap is so big. Those who go through privilege here, they are having 2 years of permanent internship. It's not the same thing. The other one, they have a period where they sit down and receive lectures. Here you have 2 years of permanent internship. So you are in court every day. You are inside the river you swim.
So is it fair to say that it is the bar or senior lawyers that are stopping the law school?
No, allow me to land, sir. Don't begin to draw conclusions. I am giving you the general situation. Then we shall come now to know where the problem is. You see, so I said I would prefer our own system whereby the lawyers should be trained in chambers because that one exposes them to the realities of the job. It's a profession. So you cannot, the academic part of it is very little. That is the reason why even professors, when they want to become lawyers, they still have to come back to us so that we drill them for some time before they can go and try. You see, it's a profession. It has its own rules. It has its own practices. You cannot take a pen and a chalk and go to a blackboard and begin to teach. You see, when you look at the curriculum studiorum in the university, you have maximum 25 subjects. But when you come to the field, it's a different ball game. Few people do aviation law in the university. Few. You look at what we meet in practice. In many universities, those courses are not offered. So you come to chambers, the training there is rigorous. Now, what is the problem? The problem is that with what we have here, there is still a conflict between the Ministry of Justice and the Bar Council. They fight for supremacy or authority. The minister wants to be seen to have the upper hand. I am the one deciding. So that is the reason why there is this lapse in the organization of the exam. Because until Mr. Minister is satisfied, he will not launch the exam. The Bar Council is very ready. You see, some people used to say that lawyers want to restrict entry into the bar. That is not true. You remember we had a batch that had, I think, was it 900? No matter of fact, there's no African country that's ever done that. You see, you can never. You go to Benin Republic, bar entrance 2. They take 2, 3. Senegal, the same thing. Cameroon launched 1,500. That was unheard of. You see, so we, the senior lawyers, we have no interest in.
I think there was protest in Uganda where a law exam bar was launched and so many people failed. And the opposition party was questioning why so many people will have to fail the bar entrance examination in Uganda.
Yes, so I am saying that in Cameroon, senior lawyers are not blocking junior ones from becoming lawyers. The problem is that there's a conflict between the Ministry of Justice and the Bar Council. Where is the conflict? The Minister of Justice tells the lawyers, in your law it is stated that training of lawyers is in your hands. But the lawyers the Bar Council tends to the minister to say, please organize a bar school. So the minister said, how can I organize a bar school? What I can do is organize the creation of a Center for Judicial Studies.
Okay.
That is where I will thank Mr. Fa for mentioning the case of registrar, because the Ministry of Justice is saying if we have to create something, it should be a body that can train all legal professionals.
Okay.
That will train court registrars, bailiffs, not only lawyers. So that is where the problem is. The ministry is talking of a Center for Judicial Studies, but the bar wants, from the attempts we saw some bâtonniers make, they want a law school attached either to University of Buea or University of Yaoundé. So that is where the problem is. Okay. They have not yet agreed as to whether they want a law school or they want a Center for Judicial Studies.
We're coming back to that.
Excuse me, sir. Me, Ashu, I think that we should apply the law. The law says training of lawyers is in the hands of the bar. We don't need, in my honest opinion, we don't need any ministerial fiat. We don't need a ministerial fiat to have a law school. The Bar Council can create a law school with the law that is existing now, because that law clearly stipulates that the training of lawyers is in the hands of the Bar Council. So if we have a bâtonnier who is powerful enough, who has the means, okay, he can very well launch his law school, and I don't think any person will be opposed to that, because nobody comes to our chambers to ask us how we are training our people lawyers. Okay, so we can as well have our law school upon a resolution of the Bar Council. It can be created.
Thank you very much, Senior Barrister. I'll be coming to you. Mr. Ngalim, are you connected with us? Hello, Mr. Ngalim, are you connected with us?
Tell him to unmute himself.
But maybe you have muted yourself. You can get me, but I'm not sure if they can get you outside. I don't know if the technical team can confirm to us if Mr. Ngalim can get us. If I don't know. We're coming back to you, Mr. Ngalim. We are struggling to troubleshoot it. The moment we receive confirmation that we can get you, I don't know what's happening at this level, but maybe I'll come back to you, Barrister Tamfo, for moving to Fire Evis. You heard what Senior Barrister Ashu said, that technically the issue of law school should not be much of a concern, that the bar should be given the full authority to have the pride of place to organize this. And basically he says maybe the curriculum as far as the law school is concerned and the legal practice is seemingly kind of having a nuance that you cannot train professionals in the law school.
I think I'll buy what he just said. You see, he says that the law says that the training of lawyers is
in the hands of the Bar Council. It's true. It is true, because when you look at the way people who come to train in chambers, the state or the Ministry of Justice doesn't control who you are training. So I believe that if there is really a strong Bar Council with a strong leadership, through a resolution, they can decide to put in place a structure that will train lawyers, and those lawyers will be able maybe to practice. Because I think if we go by the provision of that law, he has a lot of meaning from what he just analyzed. I think we do not necessarily need to wait for the Ministry of Justice to launch the exam if we are able to train the lawyers. So if actually we could put in place those infrastructures, lecturers, and and all what it takes to train the lawyers, then I think it will accelerate the process, or the waiting that we have to wait for the ministry to launch the exam. No, I think if we are able to have that facility, and I don't think there is need for a special law authorization again at this point in time. No, because even when people come to practice in our chambers, there is no authorization that we are waiting from whether the Bar Council or the ministry to train them. So I think looking by that angle, I think if we put in place in application that reflection, I don't think that we're going to be offending the laws or whosoever.
Mr. Ngalim, are you connected now?
I think I'm connected, Jarvis.
Yes, I'm getting you loud and clear. You've been following the discussion here in the studio. You listen to Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, and of course you've listened to Fire Elvis and Barrister Tamfu. You are someone who is a legal mind and a human rights advocate. Maybe your contribution to what you've listened to so far about the issue of law school in Cameroon.
Jarvis, please can you take the question again?
I'm saying that you've listened to the members of the panel. Can you get me?
Yes, I can get you.
Now you've listened to the members of the panel, and maybe you want to react to Barrister Ashu's Emmanuel take that we don't need a law school that can be controlled by the Ministry of Higher Education, Justice, that the lawyer should be given the pride of place because the law empowers the bar to have this system. You are out of Cameroon. How is it done over there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jarvis. First of all, I'm sorry for the mix-up that has been happening since the beginning of the program. In regards to Barristers Emmanuel and Richard and Fire Elvis, I think Barrister Ashu raises a very important point that I have been wondering about. Why should the bar not organize its own exams? Why should the minister always insist on being the authority to launch these exams? That is a question that really needs to be answered. The minister has nothing to do with the bar. The bar is a private corporation managed by its members. So they should be able to set up their standards on who comes in and who goes out, when and how. The minister can decide to organize admission into École Normale because the state employees teachers from École Normale. But when it comes to lawyers who leave the chambers, who practice on their own, I don't think the minister has anything to do with that. And Senior Barrister Emmanuel raised a point which I think is very, very vital. From an outside view, I'm not a member of the bar, simply because when I left law school, I felt a little bit discouraged. When I was in chambers for about 4 years. The bar exam wasn't launched, and I felt completely discouraged, and I went further to do a master's degree. But what I observed is the question about the value of a lawyer in the society. Is the absence of a lawyer in that society based on the fact that the government doesn't want lawyers in the society, or is it based on the fact that the law school is not necessary? I would go for the first option. The government doesn't want lawyers in that society, and the point is, lawyers are an educated and outspoken group of people. They are trained to notice what is happening in the society, talk about it, and try to reform that society. Most often, lawyers do this through the practice of law and through advocacy for law reform. So in a society where lawyers are not valued, the leaders of that society will do everything to discourage lawyers from existing or from plying their trade. And I think that is very important. We should note that the government decides to put a cap on the production of lawyers because they know lawyers are definitely going to expose a lot of ills. You can bear witness with what happened to lawyers in Bamenda and in Boya in 2016. If we are where we are in the southern Cameroon today, it is because lawyers took the bull by the horns and addressed situations per the law. Nobody wants to look at the law at the level of the government, so they will not want lawyers in society. Then, talking about the training of lawyers, I totally agree with Senior Barrister Emmanuel, that law school does not train lawyers appropriately. I would opt for the in-chambers training, but at the same time, I would use a different model. I won't go with any lawyer, according to the bar law, any lawyer who's been practicing for 5 years can train. Some lawyers, as Barrister Kamfu said, leave law school, come in, and their practice is below average. And after 5 years, they have the license to train others. I think the bar association needs to come up with standards of grading and promoting lawyers, like what we have in Nigeria as the senior advocates of Nigeria. That is the higher echelon of lawyers who have proven through practice, integrity, and results that they are worthy enough of the legal profession. So if we have to train adequate lawyers who can practice law as law is supposed to be, I think the bar is supposed to organize itself in such a way that lawyers are graded upon themselves and pupils are sent to these lawyers for training. I think if we decide to train lawyers in such a way that those who have proven beyond reasonable doubt that they are capable of practicing the law are those training junior lawyers, we would have a different picture of lawyers in our society. And one other factor that discouraged me from even taking the bar, going to the Nigerian law school, was what I saw in Bamenda as a practice of lawyers. The society in itself plays a huge role, and that role is clients are unable to meet up even with their basic fees. That is why the bar sets a consultation fee. I think it was 25,000 back in the day, but lawyers would go as far as taking 5,000 or even 10,000 from clients. The reason is sometimes these people don't just have the money, and they need justice. Justice needs to be administered. And sometimes it's because a lawyer could go for about a month or two with no clients coming on. When they see what to hang on, they decide to hang on. So it's a complete picture of the society in which we live. The authorities do not want people to emancipate themselves financially, economically, intellectually. And so we are looking at it today as the problem of the lawyer. I think if we cast a camera to doctors, see the same thing, to teachers who will see the same thing. So basically, I would opt for a bar association that takes into consideration the expertise, seniority, knowledge, success, integrity of senior lawyers, and group them into cohorts or into groups to train junior lawyers, and they must certify that these junior lawyers have qualified enough to practice at the bar. Like in the United States, though in the United States it's almost like the system in Cameroon, where you go to a bar, to the law school, you graduate with your JD, and then you qualify to write the license, to write the bar exam, depending on the laws of the state. Once you write, you're already qualified to be a lawyer. You start asking yourself what expertise or what knowledge somebody has. Grappling with law school for about 3 years with all the intensity of the courses in school. It's the same thing that we went through in Yaoundé. All the courses that we do, all the situations of study, you come out, you are not, I don't think most of those who leave law school, the faculty of law, are equipped enough to practice the law. So the 2-year practice is good, but the condition that anybody can train these people for 2 years, it's a big problem. Then one thing that I would also like to see is lawyers specializing in Cameroon.
Yeah, briefly.
Thank you, Jarvis. Yeah. So one thing I'd also like to see is lawyers specializing in particular domains. For instance, I know Barrister Ashu Manuel mentioned aviation law. I'm an expert in environmental and human rights law, but when it comes to this, you see, there are a lot of cases that could go to court pro bono. There are a lot of cases that could go to court simply because a lawyer has observed an irregularity and could search for funds somewhere to ensure that our community, our environment is protected. But these do not happen simply because sometimes environmental crimes are committed, and lawyers don't even know that these are crimes. So it's necessary that we start thinking about specialization and moving forward in such a way that we can have a bar association where people are grouped into specialties, so that the value of the lawyer can actually be felt in society. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you very much. Every time you listen to Mr. Ngalin, he said he would prefer Senior Barrister Ashu's position that the bar should be given the pride of place to organize this, but he's adding that it should be based on, one, the bar should focus on grouping senior lawyers together, focus on bringing these senior lawyers together, are vetted, and when they are vetted also, they now have the powers to say, okay, to train junior lawyers based on their level of seniority and practice, to say, okay, these junior lawyers can now be trained to become a lawyer.
Well, I've listened to the legal minds talk, and I've been observing very keenly. And what I think in real terms is that we will not completely dampen one system to the other, because other systems have proven workable in these countries. Now, will you tell me, if I ask a question, somebody goes to a law school in Nigeria or in Sierra Leone and comes out, and for close to over 4 decades, the system has proven positively working in these respective areas. Now, look at somebody who comes now and practices in chambers in Cameroon and goes through rigorous processes, and probably before coming out, he cannot still meet up with the society in that even the executive does not respect him. There are 2 systems we're talking about here. There are 2 scenarios. So probably Barrister Tamfu, who comes from the law school, and even admits what Senior Barrister Ashu is saying, that, you know, the law school probably, they'll prefer the system where we have in Cameroon. But I think that there's a missing link somewhere. In my own view, after working or looking on the ground on what is happening, I think that the law school has its own pride of place. We'll be talking about curriculum, because if we talk about people practicing at the various chambers, we should be talking about the harmonization process, which is not as per se like what they'll be talking about the bar school here. It is true, you go to the courts almost every day, you look at the things, but talk about a harmonized system, which will not be adequate compared to what you find in the law school, because the law school is a harmonized system. It is true, they'll tell about 18 months, but those who have gone there, come back, they'll tell that the 18 months is not biscuit, which means you go through an intensive, rigorous process, which when you come out, you see that difference. Now, those who come from Sierra Leone, the truth is simple. I will not hide it from you, because I have probably, it's just a privilege that I'm always in the midst of lawyers day in, day out. I have battery of them who are close friends. And those who come from Sierra Leone, probably those who come from Ghana, if you see even the way they move on the ground, because one thing is for sure, when you practice in a corrupt system that is not harmonized, from the chambers where you know that you have to go, sometimes, I want to tell you this anecdote. I have been privileged to assist some persons who have been detained. And when I get somewhere, sometimes we get to a situation where they say, no, for now we don't need a lawyer. I asked, and I said, but why? They said, no, my process is not complicated, so I think I can handle the situation as per se. And sometimes they tell you that, no, some lawyers instead complicate their matters in court because they want it to prolong, they want adjournments, so that during this period, I'm very bitter about that. I'm sorry to tell you that. Maybe some of them will understand the truth, and maybe they will not want to probably bring it out. There are some professional secrets. I'm sorry, maybe I might get into it. And some will tell you no, because it is a system. When you practice in a kangaroo system, the end product of where you practice, if you're not exceptional, I repeat, if you're not exceptional, you might fall the prey or the victim of almost moving kangaroo inclined system. They from somebody who practiced in a harmonized law system, which they tell you A is A and B is B. Now look at it critically. I will tell you, those who are watching me from Boya and Bamenda, the cases I intervene not because I'm a lawyer, but probably because I just feel that this situation is supposed to be like that. Now some will tell you that, well, I had an advocate. I have a situation in Tico where a company is contacting me probably to retrieve money from a lawyer, probably that has been taken by the lawyer, and the lawyer does not want to deliver the good. I said, no, they have their system. They have their bar representative in the various areas. You've been taken to the state council, no, move back to their battalions in the respective areas. They'll be able to handle the issues within them, which they have a system. That one I like that because it's well organized. You have a problem with by the time for there's a battalion in Littoral, get it to there, don't get to the state council because they understand how they can handle themselves as colleagues than you moving out of that area. Now look at it critically, as I keep saying. I will still advocate, in my own small reasoning, probably, I only minored in law, but they master these things better than some of us. But if I look at it, in a harmonized system where it's a law school, I said it has been workable.
Like
it has been proven like in Nigeria, Ghana. Now, if we look at their system, sometimes we envy their system their legal system. We don't have a perfect legal system in the world. But if you look at it, the reality is that some of them who live from these areas, now look at the way you have a law school, and the law school has what we call almost semi-autonomous system. When you come out of it, not directly linked under, like not directly linked under the Ministry of Justice as you find here. Now, if I am in a system, I said you need to revamp the system of Cameroon, that you could equally spend 7 years and you are still in the chambers. Now, if we talk about law school, let me get straight to the point. Why do we think we don't have a law school? Because those of the Bar Council are accomplice to the law school not functional. I repeat, those in the bar, this is, we call it a spade a spade. Now, when you go to the bar, for example, first, we understand that politics has also been infiltrated into the whole system.
Yes.
I am sorry to tell you that. Where professionalism is the same even in the media core, journalism, where you are supposed to be professional, for the ontology of the profession, but sometimes some hierarchies contact you, and then they make sure that you come out of professionalism and you fit in politics. Now look at, we're talking about bar as per se. Now how do you explain that we have legal experts and they tell you that no, we prefer our bar system where you pass through our chambers than a law school which is more harmonized than even the chambers issue? It is a call for concern. Now, while landing, Jarvis, I will tell you, yes, while landing, I will tell you, without fear or favor, that if we have these systems, now corruption is everywhere, but I'll tell you that in a system whereby, like, Galim spent 4 years and was not very sure of it. Now, what is beating my imagination is that the law, as the barristers have stated, tells you that the bar is in charge. Now, the very members of the bar cannot seize their rights to let the government know that they are supposed to operate a law school. Now, I listened to both of them say something here, that they are supposed to have a resolution where they take to put in place a law school. How do you put in place a resolution in the bar and you move ahead with the law school when your tutelage ministry that has made you to be a subject under them, moving in their whims and caprices? I am still a barrister. I'm giving my opinion, which is clear. How do you think that you can put up that without moving to them? You're
analyzing the politics in it.
No, I'm analyzing the politics in it. That's the bitter truth. Now, look at it critically, my brother. You have, but the law tells you that the training of the people or whatever is under the bar. It is correct. Not so. But at the same time, to organize the final bar, you must get clearance from the Minister of Justice, who has a nerve and a yam to tell you whether bar is holding this year or is not holding this year. You now realize that it's like selling the goat and keeping the rope, which I think that barristers, learned as they are, were supposed to have taken the first challenge in a unanimous fight, to let Minister of Justice relinquish powers to them to have the control over the part 1 and the part 2, so they put it in their laws that bar runs after every 4 years and it's undisputable. Okay. That you don't need to call the minister to say, can we have final bar now or not? Let the minister tell that no, attend and on va voir. So at the end of it, we think that if Ghana is working, Sierra Leone is working, the Gambia is working, Nigeria is working, and these countries had similar independence at the time that we also had. Why don't we copy? We only sit down and we think that no, those who practice in the chambers have more, they are more adequate than the others. But on the ground, we don't see it that way. That's why I look at it. I'll be coming back shortly.
Senior Barsashu Emmanuel, he raised an issue here, and which I earlier asked in my editorial, that who is stopping this law school, and you pointed out that the bar, based on the law, current law, has the ability to open a law school, that they don't need the mandate from the... But why? What is stopping them? Is it that the chambers are enjoying money from this practice and they don't want that a law school comes, it will reduce their source of funding? Or is it because of the complicated nature of the curriculum that is must pass through the chambers before having this?
Mr. TAH MAI JAVIS, I want to thank Mr. Fa. he is not a professional, but he should know as a journalist that it is a person who wears a shoe that knows where the nail is pricking his foot. He who goes to Monica knows how much the same will know. Okay. You see, you can rightly say, well, the law schools in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and others are good. Yes, but as professionals, I will tell you that I will not buy that, because Mr. Tamfu here, Barrister Tamfu here, is an exceptional lawyer. I'm telling you, in all honesty, he's an exceptional kid. This gentleman has worked very hard. If he's honest to you, he will tell you that his colleagues don't scratch his back.
No, we know that.
You see, he has worked exceptionally hard. And you see, he has a very inquisitive spirit. He has the enthusiasm to do the job. He is succeeding because he is exceptional. Not everybody who comes from law school is like him. But a person who is in chambers, sir, you are in permanent contact with the clientele, permanent contact with the court, permanent contact with the law. You cannot compare that type of person to somebody in law school where you are isolated there studying. No, sir, it's not the same. Look, if we succeed in putting in place a law school in Cameroon, if the Cameroon bar puts in place the type of law school we're talking of, all those law schools you are calling will send people to us.
But what is stopping that?
Excuse me, let me learn. You see, from the conception of what we are seeing, if we were to put up a law school, you have, contrary to what Mr. Gali was saying, we have special lawyers with specialties in Cameroon. In Douala here we have. I am an Ohada specialist. We brought Ohada's laws here. I'm an Ohada I'm a criminal law specialist. I have my record. I mean, the only lawyer who has gone to special criminal court and come out with a big gun, who didn't go to Kondengi. I mean, we have specialties. So if we have a law school, we can arrange it in such a way that these children who are unprivileged spend time with those specialists. Spend limited period of time with those specialists to know exactly, to learn those specialties. So when you're coming out, you can do something. My brother, if you take one of these our children who are not like Tamfu, just give him a file. Let him write you a complaint. My man, look, must I leave those things?
But senior barrister,
leave those things.
Let me come again from
well, I've not answered the question you. Yes. I've not answered the question that you posed. What is stopping the law school from taking place? I gave you an answer which Mr. Fadino doesn't seem to be seeing. I've said that there is a conflict. He was mistaken to think that the Minister of Justice treats the lawyers as he wishes. Sir, remove that one from your head. The bar is independent of the ministry.
The question now, how independent is that independent?
Excuse me. The bar is independent in its functioning. The minister cannot give Barrister Tamfu any injunction. He cannot ask him any question. It is our bar council. Look, our bar council is our government.
We've seen during the advent of Anglophone crisis, it seemingly had been something different from when the lawyers marched in Moya and
you didn't understand. The bar council has its rules. Like he said, every region has a bâtonnier representative. So when you see those things, you don't understand how it's functioning. During those crises, the bâtonnier Nyekamga left and went to Bamenda to meet his colleagues. He went to Boya. He made so many trips to try to liaise with the colleagues on the ground. And even after that, we discussed those issues at the General Assembly. So those things were not happening in isolation. In fact, one of the reasons why he was voted out of office was because lawyers from the Anglophone just said he was not sufficiently interested in their predicament. He didn't defend them appropriately. So that's why he was voted out of office and Chakuti Party was...
Senior Barrister Ashu, you are going political.
Please, let me give you...
Who is stopping that? Where is that coming from?
I gave you two answers. One, I said there is a conflict between, an ideological conflict between the Bar Council and the ministry. The ministry is inclined to having a center for judicial studies.
Okay.
Which is not only limited to lawyers. And that center should be attached to a university. So when you start talking of training people attached to a university, you are going academic, sir. It's no longer professional. The bar says we want a law school.
But we have like the case of journalism where it is attached to a university, but it's a professional program. We have other professional programs attached to university.
I don't know of a journalism court. You see, journalism is not the same thing. No, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. You see, lawyers, the way the bar function, the lawyers function, you cannot compare that to journalists. Because you can be attached to university, there's no problem. But you cannot attach lawyers to university. There is a problem there. So since the government is thinking of having something where a melting pot where you have bailiffs, court registrars, all so that a NAM will be reserved only for magistrates. That's what they are thinking of. And the lawyers say, no, we want something only for lawyers. That is where the problem is. Now, the other side of it is that at the bar council level, like now we have this problem of elections. We are looking for a candidate who can be strong enough to say, damn it, I'm opening my law school.
Now we have Senior Barrister Ashu now.
I am not a candidate, sir.
We have Senior Barrister Ashu that's always blunt and saying it the way
I am not a candidate. If I were to be a candidate, you can trust me that I will tell them that, look, I am opening my school. I'm not asking you, sir. I'm opening my school.
Because the law gives provision for that.
It is in the law. The training is in our hands.
So you accept with fire that there's politics in it, because those who are there are not afraid to afraid to implement the law.
Now, there is no politics. What we need is a lawyer. Now, what we need is a candidate or a lawyer, a bâtonnier, who will have it in his mind that he wants to open the school.
Okay, thank you very much.
For now, those who have passed there are relying on the ministry for financial reasons.
So the independent, how then independent is the bar council?
Look, independent. When you come to disciplinary matters, discipline, no magistrate tells us anything. No man from the ministry tells us anything. Discipline. You come to the functioning of the bar. Nobody tells us anything. Nobody comes to control us.
The bar says people should not go to court. Lawyers will still go and represent their client in court.
Oh, they face the wrath of the bar.
Okay.
Have you heard them talking again? They were sanctioned. Don't bother yourself.
Barrister Tanfu, you maybe want to react to some of the discussions that we've been having here. Because how do you justify that these are learned minds, legal minds, who understand the deontology of the law and understand where to step and where not to step? The law gives them provisions to open a law school, as Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel said, and till now we don't have it. Is it because the chambers, you own the chambers, is it because you guys are making money from the chambers, that's why you guys prefer that law school will reduce some of the areas where lawyers may come and practice? Or what's stopping this? What's stopping the law school? Or the law school is not necessary in Cameroon, as Senior Barrister Ashu said, that we should go through the normal process that we're having in Cameroon, but just empower the bar to take that.
First thing, people who are training in chamber, they're not paying any fee to the lawyers. It's free. It's a free of charge principle. So don't think that lawyers who are training those people may be blocking because those people are paying them. No, it's free of charge. I think what may be blocking is maybe the leadership that we may be having at the bar, who do not have, for example, the vision of Senior Barrister Ashu. You see, everybody has his own way of handling situations. Another bâtonnier, for example, will take the courage and interpret the law. Others want to sit there and with maybe financial influence or play the financial influence with the minister. So it all depends on the kind of leadership we have. I think it's not that it's the lawyer who are blocking for the opening of a law school. I think the project of putting in place a law school, as we see in other countries, is salutary. But now, how do we go about it? Would that law school only be there to train lawyers, or will it train the other court clerks, registrars? So if actually it is just to train lawyers, I think that should be piloted by the Bar Council. But if we need a center for judicial training, for example, that's when we'll now maybe be waiting and looking forward towards the Minister of Justice. But if it is just in the interest of creating a law school, I think within the bar itself, we can put in place adequate facilities, adequate structure, and you will see that those who will come up from those law schools will have a uniform training. Because joining what Fire Elvis was saying, you see, when advocates train those aspirants, everybody is given the training that maybe he's specialized in. Somebody who specializes in criminal law will be training the people who are practicing in his chamber, maybe in criminal law. Others who maybe specialize in aviation law will be training his students, maybe because he has majority of his files are those files on aviation. So we will not have a harmonized system, you see that people who sit for the exams will be coming with different orientations. So, but if all of them are trained, for example, in a law school where there is a curriculum, we know that, okay, all the people who are training under this law school, they are equal in knowledge, and from there they will be able to practice. Maybe at that level of the law school, we can now maybe put in active, repeated, because it's not every lawyer that goes to court. Some lawyers are in-chambers lawyers, while all others are court-going. But you see that if, yes, some are even solicitors, that's the appellation. So you see that it's not every lawyer that goes to court. So now, if you have some lawyers, if for example you are training with a lawyer that does not go to court, you will not expect that maybe that future lawyer to be doing well when, for example, he has to maybe speak in court. You see that you have that difficult challenge with others who, for example, have training under a chamber that is every day going to court. So there is a lot of, I think the idea of law school is good, so that we have a harmonized system, so that you are free maybe to specialize. You have sessions of advocacy, you have sessions of soliciting. So if there is a law school put in place, it will be good.
And should be attached to the bar.
That is the bar. It should be a product. It should be a product. It should be a production of the bar,
not to the university.
Not to the university. So the bar can. That's why I say it's a matter of leadership.
The university are centers for research.
No, you see, they do the academic part. You can do the. You can even be. Do you know that if you do the academic part and you even come out with LLD in law, for example, you cannot compare with somebody who is a practicing lawyer. That is why you see professors of law, professors in law, when they want to, they cannot just, because the law says that after, I think, 10 years of professional service as a professor, he can come and be an advocate. So you see that he still has to come back, and he's been trained in a chamber for 6 months before he's able to open. So there is that practical aspect.
You come and be under a student you have trained.
Good. So there is that practical.
We just have an
LLB, for example. So there is that practical aspect of lawyership that you still have to come and you are being drilled into. So I think putting in place of a law school should be a reflection of the bar.
And now, let me ask you this question: what stops us from having this same law school that you have been talking about? You went to Nigeria, you saw how it works. Do you think it cannot work here? What's stopping?
That is why I'm saying that. That is why I'm saying that we need, for example, a leadership in the bar that will have the vision that barrister actually is having, knowing that it is within our competence to raise funds, put in place structures, so that instead of people training in chambers, we can group them there.
But we have a lot of learned minds.
We can group them there. You see, we need to be proactive. If you can, it's not everybody. It's not everybody that will lead. So then you need to be a visionary leader that is able to carry on that project. And you will see that the money that some of us go to those law school and pay, for example, those money could be paid to the bar, and the bar will be able to make a lot of money.
Self-sustainment.
Of course. So it just depends on the kind of leadership we are. The bar association is a very strong body.
Barrister, there's someone watching us, or there are a lot of people watching us who want to become lawyers in Cameroon, who probably don't understand the number of years it would take for them to become lawyers, who want to enroll now in university. Averagely, how many years, average, all things being equal, will it take for someone to become a lawyer? Because in journalism, we understand that you have 3 years of practice in university, where you have internship, and you go and practice. Now with the law system, how long will it take? The medical profession will know it's about 7 years with the law.
No, the law is clear. After your advanced level, enroll in a university.
3 years.
3 years. After the 3 years, attach yourself to a chamber.
For how many years?
It's not defined.
It's not. No.
No,
the law says. The law
so that people
says.
should
The
understand.
law says the exam is launched every 2 years.
So if you attach yourself within 6 months and that exam is launched, you can.
You can write.
Okay.
So it is. If
you pass, assume that you pass.
No,
I want to get the mathematics. There are students who have sent us messages. More students who want to get this clarification and aspiring. I have a lot of messages about. Now let's take everything being equal. 3 years university. 6 months or that's
not even you can even attach yourself in a week, or 2 seconds, and the law the exam.
Launched.
So you write.
Yeah, when you write after.
When you write, you have 2 years of pupillage.
That's 5. Plus
2 years.
3 years.
Yes,
No,
that's
5.
2 years.
Yes, 2 years.
So
plus
after
the
the
3
2 years,
5.
now you now write the outing.
Which is how many years?
You write the exam. You write the exam, and if you succeed, you.
So you spend 5 years.
Yes.
All things being equal.
All things being
now,
equal.
if the things are not equal, it means that you may end up having 8 years because if the bar, how long did they last launch a bar?
The last bar exam was in 2014. They wrote
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 7 years, the bar has not been launched.
Yes.
So it means that those who graduated from that 2014 definitely have 10 years of waiting before becoming a lawyer. In Cameroon, following the normal practice and the reality on the ground.
Yes, that's Cameroon. That's Cameroon. That's Cameroon. There, we.
That's the why I tell you that those who come from chambers are stronger because you are, when you see him, if he's sworn in, you think that he is somebody who is just coming in, but he has 7 years experience already. You are dealing with somebody who he has already 7 years. You see, I have this experience in my chambers. I have my son who has not gone to law school. He has been in chambers for about 5 years. But I have lawyers there. I have about 4 other lawyers. But there are companies that tell me, we want this young man. He has not gone to law school. He is not in ropes, but clients prefer him.
Okay, Senior Barrister, before getting to Mr. Kali, can someone, because I just received another message here, people are more interested in the topic of today. They said it has opened their eyes to understand how it's functions. Can someone who did not practice law in university get practice in the chambers?
No.
Or get trained in the chambers?
No, sir. No, you must have an LLB.
No, sir. In law.
LLB, whether it is private law, whether it's English law, whether it's public law, law is law. Bring your LLB from anywhere.
Mr. Galim, are you there with us?
Bring your LLB, whether it's business law, bring it.
You've been following the conversation. Maybe you want to add?
Yes, Jarvis. I think what I need to really comment on is the question about the government not controlling the bar. Once somebody has a key to your house and determines when you come in and when you go out, or how you come in and how you go out, that person controls you. You cannot. I do not want to agree with Senior Barrister that that the government does not control the bar. The government controls the bar, and this is in the bigger picture of the way the government of Cameroon operates. Every system has been put under the government's control. It is 7 years now. The bar exam has not been launched because the government doesn't want that exam to be launched. If we have to go through the logic that the government, the Minister of Justice, must give it fiat for the exams to be launched. If the members of the bar really wanted the bar exam to be launched, I'm sure and convinced that the bar exam is going to be launched. But by the way, when I look at the number of lawyers already practicing in Cameroon, I wonder if we have to analyze how effective or how many lawyers Cameroon actually needs, or how many lawyers can actually survive in Cameroon. You go to some cities, there are no lawyers, but you go to some, there are many, many lawyers. Then the question now comes up, which Cameroonians can afford the services of a lawyer? And if the lawyer's principal objective is to ensure that there's justice in society, we should start looking at how lawyers can help litigants have justice without necessarily paying those fees. I think that is what the current crop of lawyers need to be looking at. How can we help lawyers or how can we help people who are in trouble, who need justice? A lot of people are languishing in jail.
That's why if the bar has the ability to create a law school, they can make money from this law school and even possibly create a fund, an account that, okay, lawyers who may want to represent their client can apply, or client can apply for some of these fundings so that they can be well represented. So a standard should be set for lawyers. Chambers should receive this money, else there will be chaos and anarchy.
I totally agree with you. And it is my humble plea that current lawyers who are members of the bar ensure that this happens. Both barristers have spoken about resolution of the bar creating a law school, but it seems as if they lack the teeth to bite so that document actually comes out. We need it. And when you look at another question I've been asking is, when you look at the way Barrister Ashu is dressed today, isn't he beautifully dressed?
Beautifully dressed.
Why must we make it that we must go to court only in black coat and black and white tie and a certain hat that I don't understand where it comes from? We should start domesticating and owning our institutions. I think Africans need to start owning African institutions. Let our lawyers start advocating for a total review of this law, where you must go to court only in black suit and black tie under the name of Anglo-Saxon culture. It could be a nice culture, but it is not our culture. In my culture, you cannot greet the fun or a shufai or a fai or a shay without your cap on. You know,
that would be a strong battle. Yeah, racing.
You should wear this. Of course, what I'm trying to say is this, Jarvis. We need to grow. We need to grow past this point where we must do everything as we received it from the white man. We need to see into it that our own system is more valuable, and how can we make it more valuable? Those are questions we should start asking. And let me just land. The comment about those who left law school, the Faculty of Law 7 years ago, and have been in chambers since then till today, I bet you they are going to be par excellence lawyers as compared to those, anyway, the early years of their career. They're going to be lawyers par excellence as compared to those who just leave law school and go to
Nigeria or the
Faculty
Gambia
of Law and go to the law school. The reason is they have been to court, they have interviewed clients, they have drafted submissions, they have signed deeds, they have done they have listened to their principals argue cases in court against other lawyers, and they are well equipped with the law, as opposed to you just leaving law school and going there. I don't know how this may sound, but leaving law school and coming back to Cameroon or to practice, you will need further training. That is my point of view. You should not really further training, but
so the bar should institute at least a year of training, not just or 2 years of training before you when you leave a law school. The bar should institute. That's what you're saying.
Yes, I would totally vote for the fact that when you leave law school, you shouldn't open your chambers immediately. And I think this should even be universal. Even those who have been in chambers before writing the bar exam, at least after writing the bar exam, they should make sure that you have somebody who mentors you again for 1 or 2 years so that you stabilize. You know, I know that, to me, experience is best gathered when you're on the field. Where I work, most of what I do, I did not learn it in school. I learned it on the job.
Okay.
Because you go to school, you have about 25 subjects. You cannot master all this. You cannot master the depth and the intricacies of these things. When you live and you're on the field and you have a loose mind, that is when you are able to understand the needs and all the tiny dots of the law or in whatsoever you're doing.
Thank you, Fai Evis Tayong. I wanted Fai to come in.
Since he has mentioned something that has to be addressed directly.
Yes.
You see, we have to understand the mechanism that is put into operation when people leave law school and come. When they leave law school, they are first of all sworn into the Nigerian bar law, or you see, like Tamfu said, he is lawyer at the Nigerian bar and Cameroon bar. You see, so when you leave law school, you first of all you are enrolled into the bar association of the country that trained you.
Okay.
You come to Cameroon on transfer.
Like football team.
Yes, sir. So you cannot.
Like you never see leaves.
Nobody can impose any period of training on you because you are coming on transfer. So when you come here, we don't have the right to train you again. The only thing we can do is we make you go through the process of taking an oath, and then we enroll you in our own bar. That is number one. Number two, he talked of. He criticized the system whereby we lawyers wear dress in black. That we should start acculturizing. Now, I want to remind my brother that what he is saying can be good for magistracy. We have seen in certain African countries, I think Zaire, Congo has that. Their magistrates have their own attire. I think Kenya too. You see, you can do that for magistrates because a magistrate is appointed to a particular court or a particular region. But a lawyer is a lawyer worldwide. If you in Cameroon decide to be wearing kaba instead of the normal wig and gown for lawyers, when you carry a kaba to Nigeria, will you be recognized as a lawyer?
No. You can adapt to
I want you to understand. You see, a lawyer is a lawyer worldwide. Since we are here like this, if a man in Russia has his money, he can come and just brief me. When I go to Russia, all I need to do is attach myself to a Russian law firm, and I go to the court and do his case.
Okay.
You see? As simple as that. So this uniformity is necessary because the law, the exercise of the legal profession is something worldwide. It is not limited to countries. It is magistracy that is limited to countries. You can do that to magistrates, but you cannot do that to lawyers because a lawyer in Cameroon can do cases in America, can do in Britain, can do in any other country. It depends on your client. If your client has money, if he can pay a bill, carry you to wherever his case is, good and fine. Go, and if you reach there and can speak their language,
you can go there and dress like them too.
No. The bar, I said, throughout the world is the same thing.
Okay.
So if you want the lawyers of your country not to be recognized by other lawyers, other countries outside, then it's your problem because if you change the attire, you are no longer a universal.
Okay.
So I want to remind him again that there is an international bar to which all the bar associations are affiliated. So you cannot change the attire because it is something universal. So a lawyer is a lawyer worldwide. That is why when you are a full advocate, it is nonsensical nonsense to say you are an international lawyer. Because all lawyers are by definition international.
Yeah, by default they are already international.
Yes.
So there's nothing to say I am an international lawyer.
It is, yes, there's no need saying so because any lawyer can be taken to any country.
And there's no need to call a lawyer a charge and bail.
No, man. You see, that one is something else. because when you say lawyer, he rightly said, you see, there are some people, there are specialties. There are some people who only a solicitor.
Okay.
Solicitors don't go to court.
So
those are the ones that you call charge and bail. not charge and discharge.
5 style. You know that I've listened to the legal minds keenly, but I think that we are still not answering the question.
Yes.
I will bet with you that we are just rigmaroling. There is a pertinent question. Why is it that 59 years running, with all these legal minds, learned. I said learned. Capital L, not small one. Till today, we don't have a law school. When we have small countries, the government who have. All I see here is that I get their justifications. You know, law school, you are nowhere. No, that thing is discussion. Let us tell Cameroonians that in a harmonized system, a law school is required. The question is, how does it operate to suit the context under which your jurisprudence operates? Is what we have to put into mind. Now, let's come back to the issue. I got senior barrister who tells us no. Probably with Barrister Tamfu, probably the problem had been that, where you have a law school, where do you put body if you understand? Choristers are like, no. One thing is for sure, Mr. TAH Javis, the issues of ENAM takes care of court registrars. Because you don't have private court registers. All court registers are state officials. You get the point. You have state lawyers, they can go to ENAM. Magistrates in general, they can be in ENAM.
But now we are talking about issues that has to do with those who are attached to the Ministry of Justice, the lawyers who constitute members of the bar. One thing is for sure, the excuses we are giving here should not be found on this platform of those excuses as to why it should not operate, Mr. TAH Javis. What I'm thinking is that how does it operate and how do we harmonize the situation should be the point of focus. I will tell you point blank that lawyers themselves in their bar are the ones who don't want the law schools to operate. I say this without fear or favor. Two things account for that. One, the fact that politics has taken precedence into the prestigious professional association.
Because we were told that the former Batune, who barrister Charles Chungang, was working in line with Professor P.K. Vincent Itangi and also Professor Minkwa Shea to see that the law school is created. One is given to University of Boya and one is given to the University of Swat for the civil law system. That after their mandate, something went on along the bridge and the idea was killed.
The simple thing is this, Mr. TAH Javis. The state does not want to empower bar to a particular position where bar might become a menace to their functioning. For one reason, those in legal professions are sound minds that if you clan with them, they can bring you down with a twinkle of an eye. So the state becomes very critical. Now, put in politics at the background. I want to tell you that don't be surprised that even members of the bar don't want law school. As you get the stories they are putting left to right. Mr. TAH, you cannot tell us you don't want law school. At the same time, you are accepting members from law schools who come in probably after 6 months and they get into the system with ease. You get the point.
A system that you fought, you find fault.
That you find fault and you say that no. The thing is that those in the chambers, they practice more well with that. I want to tell you something, Mr. TAH Javis. I'm talking with the experience here. Those who have been sending cases to them are those from law schools who have proven the worth. As I speak now, I have had, there was a case I pushed to him. He's sitting here in front of me. How it ended, but I know the client was satisfied as the client told me, you understand? I mean, people from law school. Now, what are we saying? We are looking at a system where it needs to be restructured. Because of the corrupt system in the Ministry of Justice, which does not cut across the level of the magistrate, who usurp even the court registers in terms of analysis and violations, but also the part of those who practice. Now, I want to tell you something, TAH Javis. We are here, I will talk with them after here. I have literally of cases where they say, this one to my 500 francs and this and that. Those I've been investigating are not from law schools. It's coincidental. I'm not saying that all of them are angels. Coincidental. I have the files with me. This one took my 1 million. I'm still here in court. He ate and I did not see anything. Please, what can you do? I've been helping them. I am not a lawyer. They are watching me in prisons. But I've just said that this is the procedures we can take. Lawyers they have their organization that they can handle themselves. But the main issue here is that money and politics. When bar exam goes on in the chambers that are accredited or the chambers that are concerned, those that send in, there's an amount of money that goes in. They are not talking about that. I'm sorry to tell you that. You don't send your
so that's where the politics is coming.
Your chamber has an amount of money that you register, that you send. Okay, you have fees. You pay to the bar. It's obvious. You don't argue with that. If not, you cannot be accredited. If you are not following your dues up to date, they have the right to reject the candidate. They know these things. Don't worry about this guy we're talking here. I don't want to go into those things. That's why I said that money transpires somewhere. No. I've said that again. I don't want to go into nitty-gritties because it is their job. I don't want to, you understand? But one thing is sure. When bar exams are organized, there are some fees that moves in. I don't want to go into that. There are some fees that go in. That's why if your chamber is not up to standard for dues, you have a problem. That's why some people's advocates, they are forced before some time when it's called that their chambers are not up to standard, are not to due.
So that's why they will not prefer law school because a law school will just follow
money transfer. Let us not mingle things around.
No. Thank you, Fight.
Sorry to say that.
Thank you.
Lawyers, forgive me for getting into your
thank you. Senior barrister want to quickly. We are out of time, but senior barrister have to quickly.
As an investigating journalist,
we are out of time, but senior barrister just have a quick interjection on that. Yes. That's why I said you just.
Yes, it concerns a profession. Let's correct it. You see, there is no money. There is no money required for any person to be sent in as a candidate. What he is trying to talk about is something which he does not understand. Now, the Bar Council is trying to use exams as an opportunity to recover bad dues. That is different. It has nothing to do with the exams. They say if you are not up to date, we don't take your candidate. But there is nothing in the law. If you stand firm and say, show me the law, they let your candidate pass.
We know how Cameroon.
No, please, no. I'm talking about the Bar Council. Because we are the ones who compile the files. He is saying that when you bring your file, they tell you that your senior is not up to date. There is no provision in the law that empowers anybody.
But there have been candidates whose files have been rejected.
Nobody has ever been rejected. I'm telling you.
Lawyers understand what I'm talking about.
No.
I can cite cases
I am telling you that.
I just want to be
excuse me, barrister land.
I am telling you that according to the law that governs that area, there is no provision that states that if the principal is not up to date, a candidate should be disqualified. There is no such thing. The Bar Council is only using that the exams to recover bad dues. So you cannot say that monies are changing hands. That is wrong. Now you come to the other side of
briefly, sir.
Yes, we come to the other side of the law school. I want us to understand something here. What you call law school is a system of training. Don't we have a system of training? I mean, if you don't need a building on which is written law school. There is a law school here.
Probably this is to reduce the now.
Excuse
me,
sir.
2014 batch.
No, please. We have a system of training lawyers.
Okay. We are out of time.
So don't say that we don't have a law school. We have a system of training lawyers, which is. It's a system. It's not law school. It's not a law school.
Cameroon has no law school. Senior barrister.
Cameroon
has no law school.
We have a system of training that is better than that.
It could be better, but I'm saying that Cameroon has no law school. I want to talk about why no law school here for 59 years.
Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, Barrister Tamfu, Mr. Ngalimi, your last word before we go.
My last word in the next program. I just want to clarify one issue about transfer of lawyers from one's jurisdiction to another.
That's your last word. 30 seconds.
There is a difference between appearing in a case and enrolling in a bar. In the United States, for instance, whether you've taken the bar in some of these countries, when you come here, you must take the bar exam to qualify. So nothing stops a qualified or practicing lawyer from taking another qualification exam in whichever country in the world. They're talking about the robes that the lawyers wear. In the United States, lawyers don't wear robes. Lawyers in the United States have adapted their system to their own realities. Nothing stops Africans from adapting their system to their own realities. And if you have a case to do it in Afghanistan or in Belarus or wheresoever, when you get there, adapt to the rules of the courts, and you will be fine with that system. So we need to domesticate and Africanize our thoughts, our systems, and our processes. I just wanted to clarify these points that Barrister Ashu reacted to. Thank you very much for having me on the program, Javis.
Thank you very much for coming, Barrister Tamfu. We don't have much time. Hopefully, we will take a part 2 on this program to see how we can, law students are learning a lot. I can't read messages to them because there are so many asking difficult questions. I'll put the questions to you and forward to your individual phones. Maybe you can have an understanding as to what the society needs, orientations. Your chambers can now be orientating people. A lot of these questions that are pertinent out there. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Javis. The pleasure is all mine.
Of course, thank you, Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. It's been a privilege to have you. Despite a busy schedule, we want to say thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for being the leader in the media platform in Cameroon.
Thank you very much, Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. And of course, 5F is Tayong, the kangaroo man. I hope we did not kangaroo this system today.
No, we did not kangaroo. It was a professional, something that we needed to handle it technically because legal minds are here. I think greetings to all those who are watching us. I will be coming back when we have part 2 of it so that I will also bring you the law that was signed by President Paul Biya regulating benefits for the 3 arms of persons or the 3 categories of persons who make up the judiciary, whereas the court registers themselves have been relegated out of the benefit by the magistrate. I'll bring that. Greetings to the people in Kumba. Of course, we have Solo from the Kumba. Okay. That is police corporation who's listening to us. And they say Nayiga, the art project Back to School is also on. And we'll be coming back some other time to talk about that. But then, it's my pleasure being here, Javis, and I think that we will come back part 2 of it, and we get to, but we don't want to get detailedly into their profession, but we could mention it. It's their right to keep the other things underground.
Rebroadcast of this same program will be on this same Sunday at 10:30 p.m., Monday at 9:30 p.m. It will be on our YouTube channel, BT Media Group. All of our programs are on our YouTube channel, BT Media Group. I'll leave you with this. No matter the matter, what matter is your matter. No matter the matter, what matter is your matter. What matters for me today is that I go jere you na for last hour. And what should matter for you? Thank you. My name is TAH MAI JAVIS from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Fengudong. Bange Koto, Puna Musadi.